Hi, I'm Cheryl Klein, the editorial director at Lee & Low Books.
And I'm Candace Costin, the assistant editor at Lee & Low Books, and we'd like to welcome you to our 2020 Showcase webinar.
It's been kind of a tough year for all of us, we know, but we've managed to put out some beautiful books in the meantime, and we're delighted you're here to celebrate them with us today. So I'll pull up our presentation here. And here we go. Yeah. Welcome again to our 2020 Showcase webinar.
Just to let you know what we'll be talking about this afternoon, we're going to walk you through a quick introduction to Lee & Low, then our beautiful picture books, chapter books, and early readers, and our novels for older readers. At the end will be a sneak peek at a few of the titles in our Spring 2021 list.
You can find a list of all the books we'll cover today on our website at the link you see on screen, which is also available in the webinar chat down below. And of course, check out Edelweiss or leeandlow.com for information about all of our titles. You'll receive a follow-up email after this presentation with a special discount code on our website for the books we're sharing today.
Our marketing team will be live tweeting this presentation at Lee & Low using the hashtag LLBooks2020. We welcome your comments. That follow-up email will also include a link to the recording of the webinar, which will be available on our website.
Candace and I are honored to speak today on behalf of the whole 20-person Lee & Low Books team, and particularly our fellow editors, Louise May, editor-at-large, Jessica Echeverria, our senior editor, and Stacy Whitman, the publisher of 2 books, who handles most of our novels. You'll hear from all of them in the preview section of the webinar.
To tell you a bit more about Lee & Low Books, we were established in 1991, so we're celebrating our 30th anniversary next year. We're proud to be family-owned and one of the few minority-owned publishers in the U.S. and fully independent. So we publish the books we like as we see fit. And all of those books are in service of our mission, to publish diverse stories all children and young adults can enjoy.
We take special pride in publishing debut authors and illustrators of color and from Native nations. We introduced the first books by talents like Caldecott winner Javaka Steptoe, author Paula Yu, and author and illustrator Don Tate, and the first novel co-authored by Cybert winner Tracy Sorrell.
We discovered many of these talents through our 2 annual writing contests for debut writers of color or Native nations. The New Voices Award for picture books, now in its 20th year, and the New Visions Award for novels. The submission period for these contests opens every spring and closes at the end of the summer. We'll announce the results of the 2020 New Voices Award in January 2021 and the New Visions Award in April 2021. So please keep an eye out for those announcements.
Our books are available through all major distributors and retail platforms, and again at leeandlow.com, where you can also find teacher's guides, lesson plans, author interviews, and other resources for our books, as well as the ever-lively Open Book blog.
If you're an educator or administrator, our wonderful Vice President of Educational Sales, Abe Barreto, is standing by every minute of every day, waiting for your call. He's happy to work with you to craft a collection that suits the needs of your specific student population.
I always think this picture makes Abe look like a handsome vampire.
You know what else has handsome pictures, Cheryl?
What, Candace?
Our 2020 picture book list.
You are totally correct. And so without further ado, we're delighted to introduce you to our 2020 picture books.
And stick around for more elegant transitions like that one.
You got it. So first up we have Dream Builder, the story of architect Philip FREELON by Kelly Starling Lyons, illustrated by Laura Freeman. A few years before I came to Lee & Low, I read a New Yorker profile of the Ghanaian British architect David Ajayi, who's best known here in the States for co-designing the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I thought his biography might make a great picture book. I also really admired Kelly Starling Lyons' picture book writing, so I pitched her the idea, and she came back and said, "What about Philip FREELON?" And I have to admit, I went, "Who?" But as she told me more about him, I got really excited. because it turns out Philip FREELON was the other co-designer of the Museum of African American History and Culture. And his story is as American as the building he built. Philip FREELON came from a long line of Black achievers. His grandfather was an acclaimed painter of the Harlem Renaissance. His father was a businessman who attended the 1963 March on Washington. Phil fell in love with the arts, math, and science as a kid, and he eventually decided to put those passions together and become an architect. But he didn't want to build faceless office buildings or casinos or prisons, even if those commissions could have made him a lot of money. Instead, he focused on schools, libraries, and museums, buildings that connect people together and fill hearts with joy. When a contest to design the National Museum of African American History and Culture was announced in 2008, Phil knew he had to be a part of it. He brought all his familial and cultural history to the job, as well as his love and joy. And the result is one of the most powerful public buildings of the 21st century, whose very structure reflects the strength and striving of the African American experience. Phil FREELON passed away in the summer of 2019, but I'm glad to say he saw the final illustrations for this book before he died, and he also wrote afterward for it. And Leon Lowe is really proud to honor a Black STEAM role model whose work will inspire the next generation of builders.
Wow, FREELON attacked that extraordinary project with the ferocity of a lion.
It is so funny that you mentioned lions, because our next book is The Lion Queens of India by Jan Reynolds. Jan Reynolds is a photojournalist whose work has appeared in the New York Times, the National Geographic, and Outside Magazine. And she's also published a lot of wonderful books with Leon Lowe, including the Vanishing Culture series and the classic Leo and the Butterflies. For this book, she traveled to the Gir Wildlife Sanctuary in the far west of India, home of the only remaining Asiatic lions in the world. Asiatic lions once roamed from the Mediterranean Sea to the Bay of Bengal, but human hunting and expansion reduced their numbers until, at the beginning of the 20th century, only 12 remained alive. Now more than 600 lions stalk the forest and savannas of Gir, thanks in part to the work of the Lion Queens, a team of female forest rangers who specialize in caring for the Asiatic lions. The book takes us through a day in the life of Rashila Vadere, the very first Lion Queen. We see her patrol the forest, looking out for her lions, how she takes charge of the rescue of an injured beast, and how she works with people who live around the park to balance their needs with the lions' needs. And of course, there are lots of really great lion photos as well. Readers will learn about the delicate web of life that connects all the animals in the park and the world, and what they can do to support wild creatures like the Asiatic lion. The Lion Queens of India is one of the rare nonfiction picture books to put women and people of color at the center of environmental conservation efforts. And it's perfect for any young readers with an interest in animals and animal conservation.
That's fantastic, Cheryl. Conservation is so delicious.
Candace, are you eating nachos in the middle of our webinar?
I can't help it. Nachos are the world's favorite snack. Let me tell you more about nachos and their inventor, who is also named Nacho. NACHO'S, the story of the world's favorite snack, was written by Sandra Nickel and illustrated by Oliver Dominguez. This is Sandra's picture book debut. Kids love stories about where their favorite foods come from, and this offers the real, true origin story of nachos and the invented chef who created them. As a boy growing up in Mexico, Ignacio Anaya, who was nicknamed Nacho, loved to eat and cook. When he grew up, Nacho's love of food led him to jobs in restaurants, and he ended up at an eatery near the Mexico-United States border. One afternoon in 1940, a regular customer asked for a snack. She wanted to try something new, something different. So Nacho rushed to the kitchen and improvised with what was on hand: tortilla chips, cheddar cheese, and jalapeno peppers. He sprinkled the cheese on the tortilla chips and topped each chip with a strip of jalapeno. As a finishing touch, he put the dish in the oven until the cheese was melted, and nachos were born. Nacho later opened his own restaurant, where the most popular dish was, of course, crunchy, cheesy, spicy nachos. They soon became a worldwide culinary phenomenon. Although many variations of nachos exist today, the book contains a recipe for Nacho's original nachos. so nacho fans can make the snack for themselves just the way Nacho made it in 1940. This book celebrates the 80th anniversary of the invention of nachos. The story also gives readers a fun-filled look at the rewards of human ingenuity and problem solving.
The 80th anniversary? That's amazing. Do you know how to write the number 80 in binary numbers?
I can't say that I do.
Well then, you need to read Seven Golden Rings by Rajani Laraka, illustrated by Archana Srinivasan, coming out on October 27th. And we have a video here from Rajani herself to tell you all about it. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Rajani Laraka, and I'm delighted to talk about my picture book, Seven Golden Rings. Seven Golden Rings is set in ancient India in a kingdom where the Raja loves music but hates math. It's the story of a boy named Bhagat who is poor and loves to sing, and who finds out that the Raja is holding auditions for his musical troupe for 1 week only. Bhagat goes to the Raja's city and brings with him all that his family has left, a single coin and a chain of 7 tiny golden rings. In order to stay in the city to audition, he needs to pay 1 ring per night, but he's not sure how many nights he's going to need to stay. And in order to separate the chain, he has to pay 1 coin for each link broken, but he only has 1 coin. So the question is, how can Bhagat break only 1 link in the chain and still find a way to pay for each night 1 night at a time without overpaying for his room? So as you can tell, there is a math puzzle at the heart of this story, and there is an explanation of binary numbers at the end of it. I wanted to share a little bit with you about the inspiration for this story. Both when I was a kid and then when I became a parent, we are a family that loves math puzzles, logic puzzles, all kinds of things. And I in particular have a son who was very interested in math from a very, very young age. He once asked me while I was pushing his stroller to count by 26s. That's an example of what I had to do. So, and he's also an extremely talented musician. So this story combines all of those things, a math puzzle starring a young man who loves music and math. I hope you enjoy reading it. Thank you.
Here are a few of the gorgeous illustrations where Bhagat first learns about the contest, where he journeys to the city. This is one of my personal favorites. And then the happy ending, where Bhagat and his mom settle in the palace. Seven Golden Rings recently received a starred review from Booklist, which said it succeeds both as an entertaining read aloud and as a teasing introduction to the binary system.
Another book that has racked up some serious starred reviews is Shiruko. Shiruko, El Arqueólogo Peruano Julio C. Tello, or Peruvian Archaeologist Julio C. Tello by Monica Brown, illustrated by Elisa Chavarri. It's received 3-star reviews so far. And Elisa, the illustrator, is here to tell you more about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Elisa Chavarri and I am the illustrator of Shiruko, El Arqueólogo Peruano Julio C. Tello, Peruvian Archaeologist Julio C. Tello by the fabulous Monica Brown. I was excited to work on this book because having been born in Peru, I'm always excited to get
Oh, I'm sorry, you all. I think I messed it up. I accidentally pressed a button on my computer and I cut off her video. So I'm going to start this over again. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Hi everyone, my name is Elisa Chavarri and I am the illustrator of Shiruko, El Arqueólogo Peruano Julio C. Tello, Peruvian Archaeologist Julio C. Tello by the fabulous Monica Brown. I was excited to work on this book because having been born in Peru, I'm always excited to get to share anything about the richness of Peruvian culture. And this book tells the story of Julio's life, born as an indigenous boy in the outskirts of Lima, and how he became one of the most celebrated archaeologists of the Americas. There's so many fascinating things about Julio, and I admire him very much, but one of the most important things about him is that he studied pre-Columbian Peruvian culture from the perspective of a native indigenous Peruvian, and it had never been studied that way before. He also discovered that Peru's pre-Columbian culture originated from Peru itself and had not been brought there from Mexico or Central America or even China, as it had been previously thought. And I will leave you with one of my favorite spreads from the book, which shows some Inca images of the Inti Raymi festival, some sacred animals, the terraces that they created in order to have agriculture on the mountainsides, some backstrap weaving, and this shows Julio's father telling him about his ancestors and the richness of the culture. Thank you so much for letting me share a little bit of Charuco with you, which is in Quechua, one of the native languages of Peru, and it means brave, and it actually was Charuco's nickname. Bye, hasta luego.
Here are a few more of the beautiful spreads from the book, showing Julio exploring his work at the National Library of Peru, and some of the extraordinary items he discovered. As you can see, the book also features both English and Spanish text on every spread.
Candace, would you consider Julio Teo to be the Shirley Chisholm of Peruvian archaeology?
That's not a thing, but since you mentioned Shirley Chisholm, she was the first, The Trailblazing Life of Shirley Chisholm by Catherine Russell Brown, illustrated by Eric Velasquez. This stunning title, created by an author and illustrator who have been honored by the Coretta Scott King Award, appears on many reading lists for this political season. This book focuses on Shirley Chisholm's early life experiences and how they laid the groundwork for her adult accomplishments. Shirley liked to be in charge and do things her way. At the age of 3, she was leading older children around her Brooklyn neighborhood. In grade school and high school, she was an excellent student. And in college, she out-talked anyone who opposed her on the debate team. Shirley was an educator and a community activist for almost 20 years. Then in 1964, she entered politics and became the first Black woman to serve in the New York State Assembly, and later the first Black woman elected to Congress. She championed gender and racial equality, educational programs, and the needs of the poor. Her fiery determination took people by surprise, but they listened. In 1972, Shirley Chisholm became the first Black person to seek the presidency of the United States as a major party candidate. She didn't win the nomination, but she opened a door to history and blazed the trail for the diverse political leaders of today and tomorrow. This biography has been released at a crucial time in the 2020 presidential election year. Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris has often cited Shirley Chisholm as a role model and inspiration.
We all know we need to follow Shirley's lead, stand up, speak out, and vote. But sometimes we also need to have some quiet and find a space just for ourselves. And that brings us to A Space for Me by Catherine Falwell. Catherine has created many beloved books in the Lee and Low list, including Butterflies for Curie, David's Drawings, and Rainbow Stew, and A Space for Me is a beautiful addition to that list. It's just not fair. Alex has to share a room with his little brother Lucas. And Lucas makes noise, plays with all Alex's toys, and takes over both sides of their room. All Alex wants is a little quiet space for himself. A desire I imagine a lot of us can sympathize with in these crazy days. So one day, after Lucas has been particularly annoying, Alex heads to the backyard. Using found and discarded items, he creates the perfect spot to read, play, think, and dream. But now Lucas is sad and misses Alex, so Alex helps Lucas build his own special space. Some days Alex spends time in his space by himself. Some days Lucas plays in his space by himself. And some days the brothers share their spaces together. A Space for Me will nurture empathy in young readers while celebrating the joy of being outdoors. It shows a boy creatively solving his own problems and demonstrates the social emotional growth involved in learning to balance your own needs with the needs of others. And it's a great way to initiate conversations about why people might want some space or time of their own, let's say, and what a child might put in a private space of his or her or their own, too. Space, time, respect, the right to live. These are basic human needs that our country hasn't provided equally to all its citizens throughout its history. And this next book helps adults talk about that inequality with kids. What We Believe, a Black Lives Matter Principles Activity Book by Lelena Garcia, illustrated by Karen Davidson. When Alicia Garza, Patrice Colors, and Opal Tometi first founded Black Lives Matter, they worked with their community to create a list of guiding principles for the movement. These principles have changed somewhat over time, but they have always celebrated diversity and empathy. They center the leadership of queer and trans people and Black women. They encourage thinking about the needs of Black people globally and strengthening Black families and villages here at home. The principles lay out a vision of a society where all Black people's lives are valued and everyone can grow and thrive in justice and community. Lelena Garcia, a kindergarten teacher here in New York City, learned about the principles through her work with Black Lives Matter at School, a national organization for racial justice in education. She decided to put the principles into kid-friendly language for classroom use. Another teacher involved with the organization, Karen Davidson, created beautiful images of past and contemporary activists for racial justice, like this image, which portrays the Chicago-based organizer Charlene Carruthers. Lelena approached Karen about making an activity book to help children engage with the principles, and they self-published it a couple of years ago. Now Lee & Low is so proud to bring out a new edition of this book, fully revised for 2020. As you can see, every spread features an explanation of one of the 13 principles in simple, kid-friendly language, an illustration that readers can color in, some reflection questions, and space for kids to write and draw in their answers and thoughts. A letter to adults at the beginning of the book provides a history of the Black Lives Matter movement and recommendations for talking about racial justice with children, all rooted in Lena's real classroom experience. And this letter to kids at the end helps readers frame the principles in their minds and suggests some ways that they can take action in their own communities. The book has received terrific praise from educational thought leaders like Bettina Love, who called it a visual, loving example of freedom and the possibilities of using art to create a new world. And Dr. Kim Parker, who said it's a fabulous way for educators, parents, and children to live the principles of the movement. Lee & Low will donate a portion of the proceeds from the first printing of the book directly to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. The book will be available on October 27th, and we can't wait for it to get out there and change the world.
The arrival of the chilly fall weather always reminds me of the cycle of the seasons and the different ways we can enjoy them. Like in this next book, When the Shadbush Blooms by Carla J.S. Messinger with Susan Katz, illustrated by David Fadden. When the Shadbush Blooms was originally published 13 years ago and received great reviews that praise the way it showcases both contemporary and traditional Native American culture. Our sales team brought this out-of-print book to our attention. We tweaked its design to give it a fresh look for today's readers. Through the cycle of the seasons, readers explore the everyday life of a Lenape girl's family and community. The lovely illustrations parallel what the family does to prepare for and enjoy each season, both traditional and contemporary. Here we see the family clearing the land and planting corn. In the fall, they reinforce their homes to ensure they'll be warm during the winter months and enjoy jumping in the colorful leaves. And here, the family is enjoying winter activities in the newly fallen snow. This book also comes with back matter that offers more information about Lenape culture and history and the different seasons and activities described.
So that's our wonderful 2020 picture book list. What great chapter books do we have, Candace?
So glad you asked, Cheryl. First up, we have the Story of series, which welcomes 3 more biographies into its ranks: environmentalist Wangari Maathai, Civil War hero Robert Smalls, and Olympic diver Sammy Lee. Like the rest of the story of titles, these chapter books showcase impressive life stories and well-researched sidebars about related content. All titles in the series include bold vocabulary words, a glossary, photos with captions, a source list, and recommended reading. For example, in the story of environmentalist Wangari Maathai about the Kenyan scientist and activist, sidebars provide additional information about forest ecosystems and the greenhouse effect. With the addition of these 3 titles, the Story of series now has 12 selections. From athletes to activists, each title offers young readers the powerful life story of a trailblazer.
Beyond chapter books, we're also pleased to share 2 novels for older readers, starting with Julieta and the Diamond Enigma by Luisana Duarte Armendariz. From the mixed-up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler meets Mercy Suarez in this smart young middle-grade mystery about a diamond gone missing from the Louvre and the sweet, spunky girl who cracks the case. The manuscript for this book was submitted to us through the New Visions Award, our award for new novelists of color, and it stole our hearts from the very beginning. Julieta's father is an art handler for the Boston Museum of Fine Art, so Julieta and her dad travel to Paris to pick up art for an upcoming exhibition, including the famed Regent Diamond. But the night before they're supposed to fly home, the diamond is stolen. Luckily, aspiring detective Julieta is on the case. But will they be able to find the thief and get back to Boston before Julieta's baby brother is born? As Kirk has said, come for the mystery, stay for the back matter. The book includes extensive back matter about the art Julieta encounters at the Louvre, which enhances young readers' understanding and makes this a great cross-curricular read. Don't miss this middle-grade mystery with a smart Latina protagonist whom readers will love getting to know. And next we have On These Magic Shores by Shamile Sayed Mendez. Shamile's picture book, Where Are You From?, made a big splash last year, and her YA novel, Furia, is a YA pick for Reese Witherspoon's book club. We were thrilled to publish our first hardcover middle grade novel, a New Visions Award honor recipient. And while we could gush on and on about how wonderful and beautiful this book is, it's even better to let you hear it from the author.
Hello, my name is Shamile Sayed Mendez, and I am the author of the middle grade novel On These Magic Shores. My novel is my love letter to the beauty and magic and hope of childhood. It's about 3 sisters, but mainly the oldest one, Minerva Miranda, who wants to be the first Latina president of the US. She has a whole plan set up, everything in perfect order, and she is determined to get this goal until 2 things happen almost at once that derail all her carefully laid plans. Number 1, the day of the audition for the Peter Pan play, her mom doesn't come home from work, and she has to take care of her 2 little sisters. And number 2, she decides to go to the audition anyway, but she doesn't get the role of Wendy like she wanted to. She gets cast as Tiger Lily. From then on, her actions will change her community, her school, and also her life as she discovers the magic and the beauty of being a child, even under difficult circumstances. I hope that you will join me in this beautiful journey and that you will get to love the sisters as much as I do. Thank you.
So this is a beautiful girl-driven book about family love that illustrates the strength of community and extended family bonds. Please don't miss this one.
That wraps up 2020. Now we're excited to look ahead to all the great things on deck for 2021, especially these titles.
Each of us editors has chosen one book to highlight from next spring's exciting lineup. Look for another webinar early next year where we'll present our full list of 2021 titles. First up, Louise May will introduce Butterfly for a King, created by the award-winning team of Cindy Trembore and Susan L. Roth.
Hi everyone, I'm Louise May, Lee & Lowe's editor-at-large. Today I'd like to share with you a beautiful new book that we will be publishing on February 9th, 2021. It's by the fabulous Cybert medal-winning team of Susan L. Roth and Cindy Trumbore, who previously brought you Parrots Over Puerto Rico, The Mangrove Tree, and Prairie Dog Song. And their new book is, get this screen share up, Butterfly for a King, Saving Hawaii's Kamahama Butterflies. Like all of Susan and Cindy's collaborations, this book is illustrated with Susan's signature paper and fabric collages, which are just gorgeous. And like all their collaborations, Butterfly for a King is an accessible nature adventure story that focuses on environmental stewardship and species preservation. The story starts off with the creation of the Hawaiian Islands from volcanoes thousands of years ago. And it takes us through the reign of King Kahanamanaha, and then to 2009, and the naming of his namesake butterfly as Hawaii's state insect, due to the efforts of a group of 5th graders. Once the law was passed, and everybody became aware of the butterfly as the state insect, there was an awareness that the Kamahama butterflies were disappearing, and the formation of a project that involved professional and citizen scientists was begun. Their goal was to restore the butterfly's natural habitat and introduce butterflies in places where they had been found previously. A great feature of this book is that it is accessible to readers on 3 levels. Across the top of each spread in large type is a sentence that summarizes the main idea of the spread. The story can be read at a beginning level just by reading these sentences. And then you can see across the bottom of each spread is explanatory text that fleshes out the main idea and adds additional information and interesting facts. This can be read along with the main idea sentences for a fuller understanding of the story. And then at the 3rd level, we have an afterword that presents even more information and background, along with photographs about Hawaii and the work being done to help the Kamahama butterflies survive. So, on February 9th, 2021, be on the lookout for Butterfly for a King, the latest offering from the award-winning team of Susan L. Roth and Cindy Trumbore. And I'd just like to thank everyone for letting me share this exciting new book with you today.
You know, Cheryl, I've always considered butterflies to be the dancers of the insect world. Speaking of dancing, let's 2-step into my title. The Electric Slide and Kai. This exciting story is a double picture book debut for writer Kelly J. Baptist, author of the middle grade novel Isaiah Den is My Hero, and illustrator Darnell Johnson. Everyone in Kai's family has a cool dance-related nickname, except Kai. Kai wants nothing more than to earn a nickname from his granddad, but he knows his dance moves are just plain bad. So Kai practices his dancing with the hopes of redeeming himself at his aunt's wedding reception. Kai's dancing improves, but more importantly, he learns to have fun with it. With encouragement from his new uncle, Kai is able to break through his apprehension and break it down on the dance floor. This story is a celebration of Black boy joy and showcases a beautiful blended family. Please be sure to look for this wonderful book on March 2nd, 2021.
This is really such a delightful book, and I hope we're back in the office so we can do a celebratory electric slide when it comes out.
Me too.
Yeah. But Candace, what do the electric slide and the haiku poetic form have in common?
I don't know, Cheryl. Tell me.
The beats are important, but it's all about the feeling. And that's what Kiyoshi discovers in our next beautiful book, Kiyoshi's Walk, written by Mark Harlins and illustrated by Nicole Wong. And coincidentally, another story about the connection between a grandfather and his grandson. After Kiyoshi watches his grandfather Eto compose a delicate haiku, he asks, where do poems come from? To show him, Eto leads him on a walk through their city, where they notice small details, a leaping cat, a lost teddy bear, the sound of pigeons' wings. With each sight, sound, sense, or feeling inspiring a beautiful haiku from Eto. Soon Kiyoshi discovers that the answer to his question, where do poems come from, is that poems come from the way that the world outside us meets the world within each of us. And he soon finds the courage to write a haiku of his own. I have an embarrassing editorial confession to make here, which is that Mark Carlin sent me this manuscript over the transom in 2011. I read it and I immediately fell in love with it. But it wasn't right for the publisher where I was at the time. So I just held on to it and held on to it and hoped that he wouldn't sell it elsewhere. And when I got to Lee and Low 3.5 years ago, I knew it had found the right home, because we have such a wonderful picture book list and a wonderful approach to doing contemporary stories about people of color. Mark added an author's note that describes the history of the haiku and its emphasis upon appreciating individual moments. And Nicole's illustrations are a perfect match for the text, with a delicate line, rich color and texture, and wonderful details, just like a haiku. The book is the book is perfect for classroom poetry units, especially about haiku, or for anyone who loves city life, grandparents, lovely picture books, and the wonder of poetry. Kiyoshi's Walk is coming out March 9th, 2021. And now we have I'll Build You a Bookcase by Jean Fahey, illustrated by Simone Shin. And its editor, Jessica Echeverria, is here to tell you more.
Hello, I'm Jessica Echeverria, Senior Editor at Lee and Low Books, and today I'm so pleased to share with you a new picture book set to release March 16th, 2021. Here is a sneak peek, if I can get it to come up. Okay, I'll Build You a Bookcase by Jean Fahey and illustrated by award-winning artist Simone Shin, celebrates the joy and magic we find in reading books with a child. This book was created in collaboration with the William Penn Foundation and was part of a nationwide writing contest. Early literacy specialist Jean Fahey has crafted a sweet story that demonstrates how books in the home and involved caregivers can make a world of difference in a child's early love of reading. And it can all start with a simple homemade bookcase and one little book. I'll build you a bookcase before you were born that's made out of boxes from shoes that were worn. For books we will read in the soft morning light and books we will read before saying goodnight. We'll learn about bluebirds that live in a tree and giant green turtles that nest near the sea. And then we can all read wherever we are, perhaps on a rainbow or riding a star. So let's build a bookcase and then we'll build two, for nothing is better than reading with you. This is just a snippet of the text, but I hope it gives you a good idea of how the simple rhyme makes this a fun read aloud and is really perfect for ages 0 to 3. The vibrant and adorable art features a multicultural cast of different types of families and different types of caregivers. And at the end of the book, we've included some tips on how to create your own diverse bookshelf and how to foster an early love of reading in children and the child in your life. And I'm very pleased to share that we are creating 4 bilingual editions of this book. It will be available in Spanish English, Mandarin English, Arabic English, and Vietnamese English. And it's to reflect really the diverse world that we live and that we hope to reach a lot more families this way. So just a sneak peek. And so I really hope that everyone can take the time and will check out I'll Build You a Bookcase and make it part of their own special bookshelf when it releases next year. Thank you and have a good day.
Last but not least, Stacy Whitman, the publisher of our imprint 2 books, will introduce a powerful new novel called Boy Everywhere.
Hi everyone, my name is Stacy Whitman. I'm the founder and publisher of Two Books, which is the middle grade and YA imprint of Lee & Low Books. And today I'm giving you a sneak peek of Boy Everywhere, one of our spring titles by A.M. Dasu, out in March 2021. This is such a timely story that will pair well with books like Other Words for Home by Jasmine Warga and The Night Diary by Vera Haranandani. It's the story of Sammy, a boy from Damascus, Syria, who is perfectly happy trying out for the soccer team, playing video games on the weekends with his friends, and goofing around on his iPad. But then his sister and mother are injured in a bombing at the local mall, and his whole family's lives are turned around practically overnight. Just a moment, I'm going to pull up the cover. Here we are. Isn't that just, it's just such a beautiful book and a beautiful cover. Sammy's sister Sarah needs therapy for the trauma that she's experienced due to the bombing. Sammy's parents want them all to be in a safe place. So they make arrangements to leave Syria for the UK, where a trauma-informed therapist is going to be able to treat Sarah. And it's a long, scary journey to get there. They sell all their belongings and travel by car, and then by plane, and then by boat, in the back of a truck, and plane again to at last arrive in a safe place, only to be incarcerated in the UK for illegal entry when they ask for asylum. It's a harrowing journey for the whole family, and a really rough transition to the new home for Sammy, where he gets harassed and called names and some pretty serious stuff. In the midst of all this, can Sammy find new friends and finally feel safe and at home? It will be the toughest challenge that Sammy has ever faced. The author A.M. Dasu is donating proceeds of the book to benefit Syrian refugees in the UK and to set up a grant to support an unpublished refugee or immigrant writer in the US. She is a British author who identifies as Muslim. She's not from Syria, but has worked with many Syrian refugees and immigrants to tell this story. And we've been honored to get some really wonderful reviews from Syrian readers, such as this one from Syrian-British author Nadine Kadhan. Just a moment, for some reason it isn't going to, oh, there we are. On Twitter, who said that she can't think of a more empowering book about Syrian refugees. Just let you get to read this. It's the first time that she's read an English novel about their country without feeling alienated. And she called it a must-read. Thank you, Nadine, and thank you to all the Syrian readers who have given us such wonderful feedback. And again, that's Boy Everywhere, out in March 2021, and you can pre-order now. Thank you so much.
Well, that's all, folks. We hope you enjoyed the presentation today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. Again, you'll receive a link to the recording of this webinar in the next week with a discount code you can use on our website. You can also connect with us on all our social media platforms and find out more about our titles on leeandlow.com.
And as we mentioned before, our educational sales team is happy to help you put together a custom order for your school or district to address its unique needs. Have a great
day.
Whew.
We did it, Cheryl!
Nachos are really great, Candace. You know it? It was really, these are really fine.
That's why they're the world's favorite snack, Cheryl. Like,
you speak the truth.
Uncle.
Oh shoot, Candace.
What?
I think we're still live.
Oh, hi. Thank you again for joining us, and we hope that you get yourself some nachos really soon.
World's favorite snack. Bye.
Bye.